You've also got this next story. The next rise, the Herald Sun asks, your power bill. Victorians reeling from the rising costs of living will soon face power bill increases of about $60 a year. The Essential Services Commission has approved of an average 5% price rise in default no-frills electricity deals from July the 1st due to soaring wholesale energy costs. Sarah, this is just, when it comes down to it, I know everyone, and Caleb did mention at the top of the show, this was the climate election. These are the conversations that we're going to have before we move to a sustainable, renewable energy grid across the country. And it's going to be the people that probably can't afford to pay for their electricity bills that are going to cop the brunt of it.
Yeah, and I agree. It's not necessarily climate change was spoken about in the election, but at top of the list was definitely cost of living and how much people were struggling under rising costs. Right. So for this to happen, at a time when people are at the Bowsers seeing over $2, you know, for a litre for fuel and so on, and then they're reading on the front page, okay, now my electricity bill is going to go up by $60. It's really scary and it's really worrying. So for whichever government was going to win the election on Saturday, we now know Labor's very likely to have that majority. It was going to be like, great, get into government, but hold on, look what you're about to inherit in terms of just how hard people are feeling this stuff. And they're going to be looking to you, the federal government and the state governments, and saying, what are you guys going to do? Because it's getting to the point where people can't afford to do it all, to have their grocery bills paid, to have all their bills paid. As everything's rising, their wages aren't keeping up. And we heard this for 6 weeks through the election. It's not going away. It's going to be, I think, one of the big topic things that Albanese is going to have to really focus on and deal with really, really quickly into his term as Prime Minister.
Sarah, you were out on the hustings with both Mr Morrison and Anthony Albanese during the campaign. I know that it was very controlled and they didn't have a lot of access to regular human beings outside of the bubble there. But I'm assuming that they were asked continuously on the hustings about cost of living and what they're going to do about, you know, rising costs of electricity and fuel excises and things like that. Was that having any cut through?
It was this thing where journalists were trying to really get it to really simple terms of both leaders were trying to say cost of living is rising and under me and my party, it will make it easier for you. And the journalists were trying to say, all right, well, how much will this cost under your government? Now, those sorts of questions neither leader would answer. They had their prepared lines when we had those questions. I think the thing that it came down to, and it would have been in the last couple of weeks of the campaign, was really the wages. And Albanese, where he cut through, I think was holding up the dollar and saying, you know, the government can't raise your wage by this a day. And that image and that what that represents to people, I think that was a real moment where, especially for us on the hustings, we saw it kind of turn in Labor's favour. We saw Labor gaining confidence, the coalition getting a bit more, you know, worried and so on, and the punters reacting a lot to that. The wages question was really, really big. And with how Albanese capitalised on that, how clear he was on that message, even though there was a couple of things he had to walk back regarding wages, keeping up with that inflation, that 5.2, it still seemed like he was this guy that was really worried about your wage. He's going to increase it by the dollar that he's holding up. It does mean he's kind of set himself up. If he doesn't do it, there's going to be these photos of him with the dollar coin going, oh, Morrison couldn't do this, and us going, what happened to that dollar, mate? What's going on, you know?
Indeed.
We can't do
Absolutely. Look, if you would like... No, it's going to be very interesting when Parliament does resume in the next couple of weeks, that's for sure.